When you leave too long between meals, blood sugar often takes a bit of a crash. When blood sugar takes a crash, the brain overrides almost everything. So carbohydrates are the #1 fuel source for your brain. In fact, your brain can only use carbohydrate as a fuel source. So if blood sugar drops, the brain gets a little cranky and often a little anxious that perhaps it's going to run out of fuel. So it will do whatever it can to get you to go and do something about that. So it might send you to grab another coffee to sort of quell the hunger that you're feeling. It might actually get you convincingly to grab something to eat. And often when blood sugar drops, the only thing that's going to satisfy the brain is carbohydrate. So we often are grabbing something that maybe wasn't planned. So sometimes not the greatest choice. If we can give ourselves less time between meals, or between meals and snacks, maintain blood sugar at a more regular level, then you never go through those crashes and the brain is completely happy throughout the day. You need enough calories to make sure we're getting all the micronutrients that are required, and a good balance of the macronutrients, so the carbohydrate, protein, and fat as well. So all of those things have to be in sync in order for us to create this optimal environment for us to gain or lose weight, whichever the choice may be. Carbohydrates come in two main forms. One is the complex carbohydrate, which are the grains and breads, cereals, whole grains, for the most part, rice, quinoa, that sort of that grouping. And then there are the simple carbohydrates, which come in the form of, as you would imagine, sugar, so candy, pop, baked goods, those sorts of things, but also in the form of vegetables and fruit. So depending on the type of, or the source of simple carbohydrate, your blood sugar may rise and fall within 15 minutes of consuming that, or you might get an hour out of something. So for example, a piece of fruit, you might get up to an hour out of a piece of fruit, as opposed to a hard candy that you might get 15 minutes out of. So we have to watch simple sugars on an empty stomach with nothing else, because blood sugar will just shoot up and shoot back down again and often leave you feeling quite tired. Complex carbohydrates take a little bit longer. So we're going to get about 2 hours worth of blood sugar out of some complex carbs. So same scenario. Complex carbohydrates take a little longer to process. And so blood sugar rises a little bit more slowly and falls a little bit more slowly. So the grains, the brown rice, quinoa, oats, those sorts of things will raise blood sugar a little bit more slowly. So when I talk about carbohydrates being good brain fuel, they're also a really important fuel for your working muscles as well. But what we want to try to do is sort of move towards those things that are whole grain as opposed to simple. And if we can avoid the simple as much as possible, other than the fruits and vegetables that also play a very important role in terms of other nutrients, then it will help us to maintain that blood sugar a little bit easier than if we're constantly relying on sugar hits, little candies and things to get us through the day. If you make sure that there's a protein source every time you eat, then you can really help to maintain your blood sugar, because it slows things down. So a carbohydrate snack I would never recommend on its own. So a carbohydrate snack would always be coupled with something with a little bit of protein. So in this case, I might say a piece of fruit and some yogurt. That combination will help to maintain that blood sugar. So if a person is crashing, your inclination is to reach for the carb, but also make sure that you're planning for some protein. It might be some nuts and raisins. It might be half a peanut butter and banana sandwich. So it could be well planned, which is always recommended, but definitely it coupled with some protein source.